Damien Harris or Rhamondre Stevenson?
Talk it up.
Who are we going to have more stock of in fantasy football this year? Again, the question isn't who's going to score more points, but based on their ADP, who are you and I going to draft more, have more stock of? If we look at ADP right now, according to Fantasy Pros, Damien Harris is the RB27, Rhamondre Stevenson the RB38. If you look at Underdog, Rhamondre's past Damien. Damien's the RB33, Rhamondre's the RB32.
Oh boy.
Where do you currently sit here, Badake? Are you going Rhamondre? Are you going to draft him more? Or are you going to have more Damien?
You know, I was looking at this, and I definitely have flip-flopped back and forth multiple times here because I am a believer in both, right? I was an owner of Damien Harris, and he did take me to a couple championships in some of my leagues. And Rhamondre Stevenson, even though he didn't get as much workload this past year, I do believe in the uptick coming in to this year. I'm honestly basing this all on team construction. And okay. I know that may sound weird, but for my rankings, they're both back-to-back in my rankings in redraft and in best ball. RB27, RB29, 27, 28 in best ball. So if you're going to go wide receiver heavy in the first round and do a late round strategy, I'm always taking, Damien Harris as my RB1, RB2. But if I'm going to go, RB, then wide receivers, and then go a late third running back, I'm taking Rhamondre Stevenson as my RB3. And the way that I'm seeing this, once again, is based off your team construction. If you want to do late round, get Harris, because Harris, we've seen the production, 12th in red zone targets, 5th in touchdowns amongst running backs this past year. He was a guy that was always consistent, probably getting you 12 to 15 points every single week, right? Rhamondre Stevenson this year is the expectation of Rhamondre Stevenson is that he's going to work into Damien Harris's workload on the ground, but specifically in the air, right? It's not even Harris had work in the air. Rhamondre Stevenson is going to be the guy that's going to get a work in the air, the third down guy. That's the expectation and the hope for Rhamondre Stevenson. So if it can be your RB3, Rhamondre, get the guys like the Tony Pollard and Rhamondre Stevenson, You can do, I personally wouldn't do this, but I know a lot of people have taken Rhamondre Stevenson over A.J. Dillon, Rhamondre Stevenson, Clyde. That's kind of the area that you're looking at these RB3 guys with PPR potential. I'm happy to take Rhamondre Stevenson there. But once again, all about team construction, because if I'm doing a late round running back strat, and I want Damien Harris as my RB2, RB1, and let's say you do 0 RB strat and you get him in the 6th or 7th round, I'm happy to take Damien Harris there. Once again, these guys are back-to-back in my ranking, so I personally don't think there's a wrong answer here. It's just really based on team construction. I do believe Damien Harris is still going to be consistent in the red zone, but I do believe Rhamondre Stevenson is going to see a lot of work in the air specifically. So that's kind of my thought process. Okay. I don't know if that makes sense to you. But
if you had to choose one, who are you gonna have more stock?
If I had to choose one, I've definitely already have more stock of Rhamondre, for sure. That I think. Yeah, sorry, I didn't make that clear. I do have more stock of Rhamondre. I am gonna have more stock of Rhamondre based off my team construction. But once again, I'm really happy to take Damien Harris as well.
So, I'm going Damien Harris here, and I do feel relatively confident. But I understand the Rhamondre hype. My rankings, Damien Harris, RB29. Rhamondre Stevenson, RB39. Okay. So
it's a big gap.
I'm not as close. There's a pretty big gap there. But I'm taking Damien. I guess let me ask anyone who's watching, and you can obviously rebuttal later. Why would he not be the starter? Why would Damien Harris not be the starter?
Right.
Genuine question. What has he done to make the Patriots lack any confidence in him? Last year, 2021, finished as the RB14, RB18 in points per game. He was fifth in total touchdowns amongst running backs. So he was able to produce for this team. Now, you expect regression this year, of course, but my point being, did he not use those opportunities and get the best out of them? I think he did. He was also 10th in rushing yards amongst running backs, 5th in the most breakaway runs, 9th in dominator rating. He fumbled the ball on less than 1% of his attempts. So genuinely, because there's the Rhamondre Stevenson hype is loud. It is loud. I want someone out there to help me understand what Damien Harris has done to lose his starting job, because right now a lot of people are drafting Rhamondre over Damien. And if you're doing that, you're telling me that Rhamondre is the starter. And I don't want anyone to comment, well, Damien Harris is in the last year of his contract. Bill Belichick doesn't care about your contract. He doesn't care. He's going to run these running backs into the ground. We know that. Right. And don't tell me it's because of youth, okay? Because Damien Harris is only 1 year older than Rhamondre Stevenson. Rhamondre Stevenson is not some young spring chicken. He's not a running back coming into the league at 20 years old. He is 24 years old, guys. So don't tell me it's because of youth. And again, the point of this is not to downplay Rhamondre, but I think we try and find these values. And then when we find these values and we find these stronghold takes, whatever it takes to get this guy. And that's when you see ADP rise. And it's just like, why is this happening? You know, like I think this is going to be more of a 60-40 split in favor of Damien. So there will be value for Rhamondre, but I think Rhamondre is an example of a player that we want to be the guy, but no one can really say exactly why Damien Harris is supposed to lose opportunity, right? We talked about their ADPs. I mean, I said this on the live stream a couple weeks ago. I think you're going to see them back to back, and Rhamondre might overtake Damien. We're literally, as we're sitting here recording, that's already happened on Underdog. That was not the case 2 weeks ago. It wasn't the case. Stevenson's already going ahead of Damien on Underdog, and ADP and Fantasy Pros, I don't expect that to be the same gap either as we get closer. I think you're going to see Damien and Rhamondre literally being drafted back to back. In Underdog, you're going to see Stevenson ahead. In redraft leagues, they're going to be back to back. That's how I'm viewing this, because it doesn't seem like the hype is stopping. We keep seeing the hype talks about Rhamondre Stevenson. He's one of those names specifically on Twitter where it's all aboard the hype train or you're out. And my question to everyone who's, and I'm not saying you're saying this, Badake, but if you're drafting Rhamondre over Damien, you're telling me he's the starter. Are you sure he is the starter for this team? And also, if your response is to talk about camp reports, when has that ever worked out in New England? When has that ever been reliable for New England running backs? And lastly, I'll be 100% transparent with you. I don't think I will have any stock of either of these guys this year. And again, I do believe Damien will be the 60-40, but I don't typically like to take my chances on New England running backs in general because it is such a confusing pathway. I think Damien will be the 60-40 split. I think he's the better value right now. But personally, I'm not looking to draft either of them in drafts. There's always other players around them that I would rather explore than this New England running back backfield. So that's where I stand right now. It's hard for me to draft Stevenson. The hype's getting too much.
Yeah, look, I've always been a believer in Stevenson. And, one of the questions you said, for me specifically, I've never drafted Rhamondre Stevenson over Damien Harris. It's always been based off team construction. But I think the hype train specifically, because I guess I would consider myself on the hype train, but I think the hype train specifically, the way I believe it, is based off the opportunity that I believe Rhamondre Stevenson is going to get this year. And I think, like you said, the 60-40 workload that, there's no way Rhamondre Stevenson, in my opinion, is going to overtake Damien Harris, right?
Okay.
But I do believe in the 60-40, and that 60-40, what I believe that Rhamondre Stevenson can do with that 40% could be a really good return on investment when you do take Rhamondre. Like, for example...
So it sounds like we're on the same page then, though. Like, if ADP does meet and they are literally back-to-back, you're taking Damien then?
Yeah. I've always...
If that becomes the case.
Yeah, I always will take Damien just based off of the touchdowns and the percentages of what I believe he is going to do. Do I still believe if Rhamondre Stevenson falls to me, or let's say Damien Harris got taken right before Harris got taken right before Stevenson, I'm always taking Stevenson after, because once again, I believe in that 40%. I believe in the pass opportunity, the pass catching opportunity that Rhamondre Stevenson can bring to your team. And I'm not taking him, once again, I said this in my take, as my RB1, my RB2. I'm taking him as my RB3 with the potential upside of a PPR opportunity. Potential upside of a guy that I can put in my flex. Can he overtake Damien Harris throughout this season? I think there's a chance. Does that happen? I personally don't believe so. Can Rhamondre Stevenson be a starting running back in the NFL next year if Damien Harris does not re-sign with the Patriots? There's a chance, but I also believe the Patriots will probably draft a running back, or get some.
The other thing to consider there is like a lot of people are hailing Stevenson as the third down guy.
Mm-hmm.
Just a friendly reminder, not just to you, to anyone watching.
Mm-hmm.
None of you knew unless you're in the Dynasty community like us. None of you even heard the name Rhamondre Stevenson until you picked him up off the waiver wire last year. Right? Let's be honest. Let's be 100% honest. So, are you sure that he's going to be that important this year? And again, I think he will get the 40% workload. But what I'm trying to, this is why I'm out. I'm out on New England Patriot running backs. Pierre Strong, to me, has the better skill set to be a pass catching back in this offense than Rhamondre Stevenson. And what does that mean? They drafted how many running backs? I mean, what does this mean for the backfield? So
right, and I think that's
overall,
what people,
it's like
that's why a lot of people are off of the New England running back room as well, because they drafted 2 other guys. But I don't, and I've said this before, I don't believe that the draft, because Rhamondre Stevenson didn't have crazy draft capital either. Neither did Pierre Strong.
No one this time last year, there wasn't a single except for deep dynasty people. Right. There wasn't a person standing up and saying, Rhamondre Stevenson, you need to have him, For sure.
And I think, once again, I just believe in the opportunity of the pass-catching ability of Rhamondre Stevenson. Can he be a good RB, a third down back, a pass-catching back? If Damien Harris goes down, which we saw in that week, I think it was, I forgot what week it was against Cleveland. He had 200-plus rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. That's what Stevenson can do. I think he's a solidified RB2 in this offense if, 1, he stays healthy, and 2, if he can
I agree.
Continue to get the workload. I think that's what's exciting, especially the way the NFL is going with the running back by committee. I think there's going to be value in Stevenson, and I'm not scared of Pierre Strong. I'm not scared of Karen Harris. I'm not scared of James White. I do believe Rhamondre Stevenson is a clear-cut RB2 here with the 40% workload. Yeah, I guess that's basically what. Yeah, I don't know what else more to say. Is he going to finish as a top 20 running back? I don't think so. Can he?
That's the other thing. There's so many other running backs in this range where I'm like, I think they have higher upside.
Right.
So anyway, it's hard for me to draft a New England running back right now.
For sure.
I just don't have much confidence in them, and specifically with Rhamondre, I think people are going to draft him over Damien this year.
Yeah, I think that
I can only speak to what the ADP is right now, but an underdog, you already see it happening.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree with that. I think that's too much. I wouldn't draft Rhamondre over Damien Harris. So
yeah,
completely agree on that.
All right, guys, why don't you comment down below? Let us know who you're taking. And by the way, we talk about underdog every once in a while on here. You want to draft with us on underdog? Are you new to best ball? Well, we're relatively new as well, so let's kind of learn together. We have been having a ton of fun over on Underdog. Use the promo code LAND when you sign up, and you'll get your deposit matched up to $100. $100 buckaroos.
Mm-hmm.
Sign up link is in the description. Why don't you hit us up on Discord if you use our promo code to join in, and we'll get in a draft with you.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos,
watch it.
You can also subscribe
right now
if you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/FantasyLand fam.